What's up, hybrids? Welcome back to another episode of the Fandom Hybrid Podcast. This is Hanako, and I'm here with Anthony, and we are discussing the season 2 premiere of The Last of Us. I hate these long hiatuses. I really do.
But
I
they're so
really,
worth it. They're so worth it.
they are worth it. This
This is
episode was,
quality television.
it
This
is,
is at its best quality television.
but
However,
Ellie's getting on my damn nerves already.
the longing is real. The longing is real.
The
I,
longing is real, and she is getting on my damn nerves already. I heard Casey in my head, even though Ellie is 21, where we are now. I was like, this girl need a whooping. She need a whooping. Like, she really needs a whooping. But we're gonna
okay,
get into that.
but the counselor side of me says it's a trauma.
Trauma response. I
A trauma
know.
response.
I
For both
know.
both of them. It's a trauma response.
I know. And
We'll get
the
to that because
crazy
I
thing is we don't even know, like, we don't even know what she knows because the start of the show is, it's 5 years after what happened in the last season. So we don't even know yet what she knows. We just know that there's a bit of an estrangement with them. But
I still don't think he told her.
I don't think so. I
I
don't think
still
he
don't think.
told her, but I think she probably has guessed.
No, I think she know he ain't telling her. We'll get to that. I
Yeah,
just think she knows he's not telling her the entire truth.
right.
And we'll get to that when we get to the part with the therapist.
Yes, we will. Okay. So let's start at the top of the episode because we see that part that the season ended on last season where she's asking him, she was like, swear to me that you're telling me the truth about what happened with the Fireflies. And he looks at her, doesn't bat an eyelash, and he's like, I swear. And it's like, I think we had this discussion with that last episode. It's almost like you can't tell if she's not believing him, like she thinks he's telling, a lie, or if she's just to the point where she's just like, okay, you know what? He says it's the truth. I'm not going to push. I'm just going to accept it and just move forward. Because she takes a long time and it's just like she's looking at him and then she's just like, okay. And then she walks on. And I don't know if him standing there for a beat after she walks is what makes her like, he's not telling me the truth. Because I think if he had been clear, of a clear mind, he would have just started walking with her with no problem. But the fact
Mhm.
that he sat there and he just kind of stood, I was like, yeah, that's where the bridge started.
Well, he hesitated after she asked him,
Mm-hmm.
and then she walked off, and he still stood there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think subconsciously, I think she has some suspicion that he's not being completely honest about what happened.
Right. Right.
Whatever it is, whatever
Whatever
went
it is.
down,
Whatever.
she knows he's not telling because he killed everybody there.
Yes, as we see in the next episode, I mean, in the next scene, because we see a group, and it's like a group of it's what, five of them, and they're there with a whole bunch of grave markers, and they're upset, and they're just like, why would he do this? And they're having this conversation between themselves, and one of the girls says, well, I heard something about a kid he had with him. And supposedly, and the other girl cut her off and said, no, don't say it because it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
And in this moment, you realize that not everybody in the Fireflies was aware. One, they weren't aware of who Ellie was.
Mm-hmm.
And two, they weren't aware of what the situation was, like why she was being brought there and what they were going to have to do in order to do whatever it was they needed her to do. Because obviously, this little group really don't know what Ellie was there for.
Mm-mm.
They just know that Joel came in, and they don't even really know much
Yeah,
about
so,
him. They just know
somebody
he
named
came in.
Joel or Joe or whatever.
Yeah, just came in and cleaned house. And they're like, even, even if it was true, the rumors about what Ellie was, it makes no sense without, and they're like cutting each other off, like they don't even want to say their names.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the one girl that's sitting there who's like really, really pissed. And I already know that this is Abby. And I already know that just preliminarily, I'm not to like her because I know what she does in the video game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard because I'm trying to be open minded. I'm trying not to have a prejudice against this girl from jump.
That's from jump already, day one.
But you can see she's upset. You can see she's talking about going after Joel, finding him and killing him. And on the one hand, I really sympathize with her. I really understand. I really do. We had that conversation, like, was Joel right? Was he wrong? Like, there's so many shades of gray with that. But you don't even know why, like y'all said, you don't know why he did it.
You don't.
You don't
You
have
don't.
any clue as to what was going on. Y'all don't know what they were about to do to this girl. There's just a lot of there's a lot of prejudgments being made, which I understand. These are your people. They've been killed, they've been, slaughtered. You tried to save some of them, you ended up having to bury them. I get it. And your friends are kind of there, they're upset, but they're not as angry as this girl. Speaking of which, hi Danny Ramirez, because he's one of the people that's in here. But um the anger on this girl's face, like you feel it coming through the screen. This girl, whoever she is, this Abby girl, you feel her anger.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there like, I'm gonna try to keep an open mind based on what you find out. But right now, I don't like you because I know what your anger means.
Well, the fact that she said there she's gonna kill Joel slowly.
Slowly, slowly. I was like,
that right there would make you not want to like her. That
yeah,
that right there. But the we got bigger fish to fry. We trying to survive. We trying to make it, and you want to do this side quest? Come on.
well, I mean, if you
We
think
got a
about
place
it,
to. He said we got a place to go. We go to Seattle, and they'll take us in.
yeah.
Blah 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 blah. But no, you want to take a side quest to put yourself in imminent danger at all times.
Right, because if
And
this one person did this to your camp with all those people, all those guns,
I ain't even got to that part yet. But the fact that you going after this dude on top of all the other stuff you're gonna have to get through
yeah,
because you got to find them, and that means you got to go out and venture out and check things out and track down leads. All the while, the cordyceps is just floating around, floating around. You what? Come on, I
I know. But I mean, also too, if
well,
you
wait,
think
hold on.
about it
What
in that
what
way, you said they have bigger fish to fry. In her mind, Joel just took away a very very big part of that, of solving that problem.
but do we don't even know if she really knows.
I know, but I mean, but they know the Fireflies were working on something.
Yeah.
So in
Okay.
her
And
mind, she
so
could be justified for doing that.
okay.
But I know you and I know you and I
but
know.
but you feel like you justified for something that what was it? What was it? You can either mourn the living. No, you can either mourn the dead, or what was that saying someone said? It's something that we recently watched.
Um,
What
it has
was
to be. It had was it the wheel
it? It had
again?
to be real time.
Oh,
Hey,
the Tuatha one. We bury our dead and we go on. What else is there?
right.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, The whole thing that makes all of this difficult is we as the viewers, we see what's happening on both sides. We see what's
Mm-hmm.
happening with both sides of this coin. And we know that when Joel brought Ellie to the Firefly camp, they both had all intentions of Ellie doing whatever it was she needed to do in order to help save humanity and maybe get rid of the cordyceps. Joel and let's be honest, Ellie, neither one of them were given all of the facts. They weren't given all the details. You know, they literally had Ellie already under anesthesia, about to undergo the surgery that was going to kill her without telling her that this was what was going to happen. At least that's the gist that we got from the way the conversation with Marlene and Joel went.
Mm-hmm.
Like y'all basically told her she was going to save people, but y'all didn't tell her that, you know, when you put her to sleep to do whatever you're doing, that she's not going to wake up. And that was the moral dilemma. Like, do you have the right to take that choice away from someone, even if it means saving the world?
Yeah, well, she didn't have informed consent. They didn't tell
Right,
her what was going to
exactly.
happen. Yeah.
So yeah, again, I understand why Joe went ham. I understand it. But then you have the people on the other side of it, the people on the Firefly side who don't have all the details as well. They didn't know what Marlene was about to do. They didn't know what this doctor was about to do. They just knew, okay, yes, we're working on a cure. They didn't tell everyone that the cure meant they were going to have to kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like if these people, if Abby and this group of other people, if they knew that, would they still feel the same way about what Joel did? And that's, I think, is going to be the real, like, when they eventually come face to face, because you know they're going to come face to face, that's going to be the big question. Like, is Abby going to be able to calm down enough to let Joel explain to her what happened? And then is Joel going to, I don't know, allow her to be justified in her anger? But he
There's
also has to deal with Ellie and her anger first.
there's nothing Joel can say to Abby
I know.
that is going to change anything for her.
Yeah.
Right now, all she sees is red.
She sees red, yeah. And even if
That's all
even
she
if they do
sees.
get to the point where they have a conversation and he explains to her exactly what happened, even in her mind, she might be like, okay, I can understand, but you didn't have to kill everybody. You killed everybody, not just Marlene. You killed the doctor.
Well, he killed everybody getting to Ellie. That wasn't. They were in the way. He wasn't trying to kill everybody. They all came after him.
And I understand that, but it's kind of
That
like
was
you could
it.
have just,
It was
like,
like he said, "Okay, I got to kill every motherfucking goddamn in here right now." No, it's I'm going to Ellie, and anyone in my way is going. They were
yeah,
in
but when
his
you got to the
way.
doctor, you didn't have to kill the doctor. I
Well,
mean,
he
think
wasn't.
about it. Doctors in this world, as we have seen so far, they are very few and far in between. You didn't
Yeah,
have to kill the doctor.
that might have been unnecessary,
Yeah,
but I don't know. Yeah, that may have been an unnecessary death, but he wouldn't
because
have
you not
stopped.
only take away what he was doing to Ellie, but you take away him being able to help other people with other things that have nothing to do with cordyceps.
But first of all, he wasn't even a real doctor. He was what was he, a dentist or something? Chiropractor? I don't mean to
Don't
say he wasn't a real
remember.
doctor, but he wasn't a neurosurgeon. He was like a
Yeah,
dentist
so
or
he would have
something.
probably fucked it up anyway.
He probably, I'm not to diss on dentists, but he probably didn't have the skills to keep her alive and do what he needed to do.
I was gonna say, you're not dissing on a dentist. A dentist works in the mouth, not in the brain. That's not a diss.
No,
That's you are underqualified for this position, sir.
I'm just saying, even if he had done a surgical rotation in neurology, he
Mm-hmm.
still didn't have the skills to go into somebody's brain, pull out a biopsy, and do some tests on it.
Yeah.
No, he was going to cut her head open and pull the brain out and then
Mm-hmm.
study the brain.
The brain stem, right?
He didn't even know what he was looking for. They were guessing.
Yeah.
That's why she was going to die because they didn't have no clue.
Well, I think. she was going to die anyway because from what Marlene was saying, I think the part of the brain that they have to activate in order to reverse whatever it is that the cordyceps are doing is in a part of the brain that you can't get to without the host dying.
Exactly.
So, yeah, she was going to be a goner either way. And then it's kind of like you think about what Joe's thinking. Okay, so
Hold
y'all
on.
kill her.
Hold on. Let's back up a second. Now, when did Marlene become McSteamy or McDreamy from how she
Well, they
know?
had other doctors. That's what she was saying. Like they had other doctors working on whatever. Because
Of
I'm
course
pretty
they did.
sure they're
Of
not going to
course,
have all the doctors in one location. You're not going to put
of
all your eggs in
course,
one basket because a crazy motherfucker like Joel might come along and kill everybody.
of course, of course. The biggest, most important thing that ever happened to the Fireflies, and you don't have the doctors there to know what they're doing.
I'm just saying, you're not going
I'm just saying it.
because the other doctors
Marlene.
could have been way across the country.
And guess what? You wait. You wait. But Marlene, they couldn't wait. And Marlene was, I, I'm just
I
saying, we
I know.
can't believe all these people. And that is probably what was going through Joel's head.
Mm-hmm.
Like, y'all didn't tell me this to begin with. You didn't tell her this to begin with. What else are y'all not telling? Wait a
Right.
second. What kind
Mm-hmm.
of doctor is he? He don't
Mm-hmm.
even know what the hell he's doing. Do you know what he's doing? Y'all don't even know what is going on. Is this even gonna work? Y'all not even sure this is gonna work.
Right.
And not having been a person who played the game, but knowing how video games go,
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure if we did a deep dive into the lore, we would find out it probably wasn't going to work anyway because her
Probably.
situation is really unique.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have questions. I feel like she can infect people for some reason. I think if she bit somebody or really tried, or her blood, I have a feeling she could probably infect people.
Mm.
You know, other than because like I swear that one time when she tried to put her blood on that boy's wound, yeah, I swear it went faster.
Oh yeah. That's a good
He
point.
turned faster.
Cause he turned overnight,
He turned
like
fast.
in a few hours. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
So I'm just saying, there's a
Yeah.
lot about, and I know that the people, the game, whatever. I know that's not the important part of the story,
Mm-hmm.
but it is very interesting to think about the
Yeah.
ramifications of her being almost like a hybrid.
Yeah. Cause what would have happened if let's say they had moved on with the surgery? Let's say the glove broke and the blood would have gotten onto the like you said, we don't know how that would have affected them. That's
Mm-hmm.
a really good point. Because at this point, we really don't know anything about Ellie's blood except for the fact that she was born after her mother was
Infected.
infected. She's been bitten and she seems to be immune, but yeah, we don't know what all of that entails. And that's probably something that Marlene and the Fireflies, the doctors, that's something they probably should have done first. Like, you're about to just go brains deep into this child, and you don't know anything about her medical history. I mean, I'm sure they had some stuff because, again, Marlene was a friend of her mom's and kind of was watching over her this whole time. So I'm sure maybe something was out there, but also too, if you think somebody is immune, you are not gonna like just be sending them to the doctor for the doctor to find that out because then you really have no control over the situation,
Yeah.
especially with the way the government was working where they were at the time. Because remember, the Fireflies are the resistance group. So if
Mm-hmm.
they had, if they had found Ellie, figured out that she was immune, this story wouldn't even be taking place now because they would have already had her and been experimenting on her and doing all this other stuff. But they
Yeah.
should have done their due diligence
They
before
should
you
have.
just stick her on a slab and be like, okay, we're gonna cut into her brain.
Yeah. I still don't. I know we need to move on, but I still don't believe she's immune. I just believe she's infected.
Well,
She's just walking around infected, and when she gets bitten, it's like, oh, you're already infected, so it doesn't have to infect her because she's already infected. But they
Okay.
don't even have they didn't even like we don't know if that's the case, if she has antibodies that attack the
Hmm.
invading cordyceps,
Because
but
they didn't do any
they didn't do any
blood
they didn't
tests.
do any blood tests. They didn't
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
But let's move on
We're
before
just gonna
we
slice
keep
and
going
dice.
down. Right, we keep going down this rabbit hole. We'll be all night.
Okay. Yep. But okay. So moving on a little bit further, like I said when I started this out, okay. Ellie being a smartass when she was supposed to be like 15, 16, that was kind of sort of cute. Yeah, it was a little irritating at some point, but she was a child who was carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders, literally, like after being told that you could literally save the human race. You kind of expect her to be a little asshole a little bit. 5 years later, when you're 21 and you're still being an asshole and you're being irresponsible, you're being reckless, you're
Reckless.
just being a smart mouth for no reason, yeah, that stops being cute. I had to pause this episode several times because I was like, I just want to hit her in her mouth. I really do.
Yeah. And it's like her cavalier attitude and this recklessness is gonna get somebody killed.
And all because she's mad at Joel, and for what? He doesn't even know. Like everybody else can tell that you're upset with him, but you won't talk to him and let him know. You're just being an asshole to him. And all he's trying to do, like he said when he was with the therapist, I saved her. That's all he did. But because she may or may not have all the facts, again, this is 5 years after the season finale. We don't know what has happened in that time. So we don't
Mm-hmm.
know what kind of conversations they've had. We don't know what kind of clues he may have given her. We don't know how their dynamic has changed. It could just be in the way that he's acting that she's like, okay, yeah, you did something fucked up. Because that's the way he was, when she met him, which is
Mm-hmm.
again so strange because if you're mad at him for what you think he did, you have to remember he didn't want to go in the first place.
No, he didn't.
He was trying to send his brother with her. One, because he didn't think he could protect her because, he was having the shakes, and you see him at the beginning of this episode kind of doing the thing with his hand like it's not any better. But he didn't even want to go
No.
because he was like, I don't know if I can do what is needed to be done to protect her. And then we find out, oh yes, you can do what you need to do to protect her. But again, was that the right thing? Was that the wrong thing? But he did it. That's what you wanted him for. You wanted him so you could feel safe, for you so you could feel protected. Guess what? That's what he did for you when you were helpless. And now you're taking it out on him in the ugliest of ways.
Yeah.
I was just like, I mean, when your best friend slash potential crush when she's going to him, like, why is she mad at you? What happened?
You don't even know.
Obviously, something ain't right.
Everybody can tell something's wrong. Something's wrong.
And it's just, it, again, they tried to press the narrative in this episode. Joel said it to Dean, and he was like, she's a 19-year-old girl, and I'm, what I am to her. And most 19-year-olds, they don't like their parents. He was like, I never got there with my daughter, so I don't know how this works. Okay, yeah, that could be an excuse. But even when you go to the therapist and the therapist is like, oh my God, you have the most boring problem in the world. Like all 19-year-olds don't like their parents.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something more. Everybody else sees it. Joel knows what the issue is, at least internally. He's like, yeah, she knows I lied to her. But because she won't say anything and I I don't know, at this point, girl, just get it out. Get it out so you can move on, so everybody can move on, so everybody doesn't have to be stuck in your anger
Mm-hmm.
and trying to tiptoe around all of that. Like here you are, you putting his brother in the middle because Tommy's trying to treat Ellie like a grown up. He's taking her out to shoot. They see some of the clickers out kind of in the distance. He's taking her out to shoot. He's giving her responsibility, but then he's also trying to shield her because he's like, I don't want Joel to get mad. He's worried about you. And then the whole thing with the Fight Club in the beginning of the episode, like, what the fuck was that?
That's her training.
That's her training, and I get it. But when you're mad because somebody pulled a punch, and it was because we didn't want to have to explain it to Joe, and you get even madder.
Yeah.
Did you not? You obviously didn't see what you look like in the mirror.
No.
He would have broke your nose. But I mean, it's good that she's training. It's good that she's fighting. It's good that she's learning how to shoot. It's good that she's going on patrols. But man, oh man, everything is not a joke. Everything is not, to be disregarded. Like the behavior that she did when they went on the patrol, and like the guy Jesse, he's literally telling her, okay, don't run off on your own. Listen to the leader. Do this, follow the instructions. And if you see this, if you see that, come back, regroup, blah, 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 whatever. She sees blood and she's like, oh, okay, let's go. I was like,
Her recklessness is gonna get somebody killed.
it's gonna get somebody killed, and it's probably gonna be Dina. I have to say it. She's gonna get her best friend killed because Dina has a little bit
Mm.
of that same recklessness.
Mm. Oh wait, we made it through episode and nobody died.
Not for lack of trying.
Nobody died.
Not for lack of trying.
Because remember that first season, end of every episode, somebody died. Every episode. But yeah, nobody died. So we're good.
But shit, Ellie almost, and she probably should have, but she probably still could. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because she got bit. I mean, we'll get into that because that part of the episode was harrowing.
Yeah.
Harrowing. It took
But
me almost an hour and a half to watch this episode
oh, wow.
because I had to keep pausing, especially at that part. I was like, I can't do it. Can't
But
do it.
yeah, but he told, you gotta listen to the captain. And then he even went up to them and was like, I need for y'all to stop joking.
Right. Can y'all take this seriously a little bit? He's like, some of
Take
the
this
others, they
seriously.
look up to y'all. And the
Yeah.
last thing you need is a whole group of people being assholes, being reckless
Yeah.
assholes at that. So,
Yeah. Because at
but
the end of the day, everybody wants to be safe.
right,
Nobody wants to be fucking around with a clicker.
right,
Nobody wants
because the whole thing about them being in Jackson, Wyoming, which is where they are, that settlement. This is one of the things that they do well in this show. And last year at Dragon Con, I was on a panel comparing The Last of Us and The Walking Dead. Like what does each show do better? What does each show do worse? One of the things about Jackson, Wyoming, this settlement is in the mountains and they have open views on all sides. So you can see anything coming. It's like you have the most protection. You're in the mountains. So when you shoot, that sound is going to echo. So it'll be hard to pinpoint where it's coming from. And we know that these cordyceps, they find their prey by sound.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like it's smart. You guys are in a very ideal location, ideal backdrops, ideal surroundings. You're meant to be safe. And I'm assuming, yeah, you may have a stray, cordyceps that come by. They seem to be taking care of it very well. The town is thriving. I mean, hell, in this episode, they're celebrating New Year's Eve. They've got music, they're having a party. It's a lot of noise. And you would think that would attract the cordyceps. But again, if all the noise is echoing through the mountains, those clickers probably don't know where to go.
I'm still trying to figure out how they got gas for their vehicles.
They're
And I have
probably
the
making it
same
at this point. I'm just saying, it's 20 something years into a cordyceps infested apocalypse. They've probably learned that they probably grow a lot of corn somewhere.
Fair
And
at the
they're
moment.
making, I'm just saying,
Okay, all right, I'll let you have that because I had the same problem
Walking
in
Dead.
Walking Dead, but I think someone had a refinery that was still
Yeah,
operational.
they were actually making
Yeah.
gas, but I mean, in this
Because
show,
enough people ask the question, how y'all getting all these vehicles driving around with gas? Because
they're
gas
probably
has an expiration date.
they're probably making more gas somehow.
Okay. Anyway,
I'm not going to question it, but also let's be honest, they don't have a lot of vehicles. They do have a lot of horses. They are
they do.
traveling a lot by horse.
They do.
So it could be that they're rationing their vehicles, like they're using the vehicles to go out on runs where they're collecting refugees, which apparently they seem to be doing a lot of because Joel makes the comment about it, they're taking in so many people that they can't keep up with the construction around the town.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, I like Maria, aka Tara from True Blood, but she was one of those people in this episode. She was getting on my nerves too, sitting there like, this window is not holding in, it's not keeping out the cold, we need to build faster. And Joel is like, do you not hear me telling you that we have a lack of people and this is moving slow and this is moving slow? Like, what do you want us to do? I don't see you out there working on the rusted pipes that we're going to get to. But, it's just one of those things where you can't, I don't know. You can't make wine out of thin air. You don't even have water at this point. There is
No.
nothing. And Joel is trying to make it work. And you keep bringing people in, and then you get upset at him when he says, well, maybe y'all need to stop letting people in.
Can we sit back for a second?
Mm-hmm.
How did Joel all of a sudden become the civil engineer? Like he wasn't even a part of the town. He stumbled in, and now he's I don't want to say in a position of authority, but apparently they rely on him on the construction and all that stuff.
Probably because he probably has the most experience out of everybody else who's there because he was doing that kind of work before he
Yeah,
found his
that's true.
brother.
That's true.
And then, of course, when your brother is, one of the people in charge of the town,
Yeah.
that might
'Cause wasn't
give
he
you
in
a little.
construction? Wasn't he in construction?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I mean, he probably knows the most out of anybody except for maybe Tommy. And, that's all well and good with his experience. But one, Joel in this show is now approaching 60.
Yeah.
Okay. We already know he has problems with his hands. We saw it in the first season. We saw it in this episode where, all he was doing was trying to fix a breaker and he had
Mm-hmm.
to sit there with his hand. And so he's not in the best shape at this point. And then you have all these other people coming in, probably maybe at a growing rate. But if you have people coming in who don't know how to do that work first, you got to train them to do it. And you have to train them to do it properly. You can't just put people in charge. Like, you're not just going to call me and say, hey, Hanako, I need you to come build a house and then put people in. Why would you do that? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like her attitude about the whole thing was kind of irritating because he's making sense. And that's the one thing I think that has irritated me about this show is because a lot of times when Joel is talking, Joel is saying the hard things that nobody else wants to say. This has been since episode 1. Nobody listens to him, but he's almost always right.
Yeah. But the problem with turning refugees away is they always come back.
I know. And sometimes they come back mad.
They come back mad.
Yeah. Or they
So,
come back and bring trouble.
or they come back with more refugees,
Yeah.
and they all feel like, "Oh, y'all not gonna let us in.
So we're just gonna take this shit over.
We gonna figure out how to get in." Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get it, but I mean, Joel is making a point. He was like, look, we can't keep up. with all of these people coming in. He was like, I understand. He was like, if I had my choice, we'd take them all in. But if we don't take care of us, we can't take care of anybody else.
Right.
And again, he has a point. But then Maria has to say that thing, Joe, you were a refugee too. Okay, you know what? Let me refugee my ass out of this town and then y'all see what y'all gonna do. Like you just I don't know. And it's been like that ever since he came to Jackson. Like Maria has not liked him. And she gives him a hard time. And you see it like in this episode, they kind of have a little bit of a better relationship, but still she has that kind of the attitude of, okay, this is what needs to be done and you're going to do it. And don't forget, I let you in here. I don't like that.
Mm.
I don't like that because that kind of attitude can lead to problems, not just with him and her, but if this is how you're treating the person who is literally building your town up, what does that say to the other people around as far
Yeah.
as how you're going to treat other people? You're not going to treat the refugees better than you are the person who's building your town, the person who's helping you, you know, helping to put you in a position where you can help refugees. So yeah, I didn't like that. I love the fact that he got to play with his nephew. That was cute, you
That was
know, little
cute boy.
Benji.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, this is 5 years after everything that happened in the season finale. So we don't know what has transpired with all of these people and all of these relationships in that 5 years. I'm pretty sure they'll probably go back and do flashbacks and kind of give us a little bit, fill in the background. One thing we do know is that Joel killed somebody and we don't know why he killed him.
Yeah,
But
that's a good question.
but he's going to see the therapist who is the wife of the person that he killed.
Yeah,
Huh.
that's tough.
Huh.
That
That's
means she's the only therapist in town.
and he clearly needs one. We always talk about the fact that all these people in these shows that we watch, they need some therapy. We actually have a
Yes,
person who is getting therapy,
he's
which
actually
is
getting
great.
therapy. Yeah.
Except on the days when his therapist is celebrating her first birthday without her husband, the husband that he killed, and he's been coming to her trying to get advice about how to deal with Ellie. And she's like, you've been lying to me this whole time. So let's cut the bullshit.
No, wait, well, okay. So what's funny is first he's like, well, should you be drinking? And no, we should not be drinking as therapists. And two, so in therapy, when you get to a point in a therapeutic relationship when you're not making any progress,
Mm-hmm.
she switched up. She did confrontation. Because normally you would just say, you know what, this is not working here. I'm gonna refer you to somebody else
Mm-hmm.
that maybe can have that you can make progress with.
Right.
No, she was like confrontation. So that is a therapy thing you can do.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
she
the
confronted
sad
him.
thing is that she had a reason to confront him.
Well, she was using that self-disclosure as a means to make him understand why she knew that he was not being forthcoming.
Mm-hmm.
So she was trying to give him some self-disclosure to get him to self-disclose.
But I was not expecting that to come out of her
I was
mouth.
not I was not expecting that either. Eugene, poor Eugene.
And I was like, who is Eugene? Did we see this?
No.
So then I went to go look it up. And apparently, also in the game, Eugene is kind of a mysterious figure. Like apparently he was part of the Fireflies and he was heavily involved with the Fireflies to the point where he was away from home a lot, to the point where she was like sending him letters like, please come home, please come home. And then something happened. He died. And I don't think they ever explained it in the game. At least that's the gist of what I read online
Mhm.
today. And I was like, so he's just this specter just kind of hanging around, just kind of haunting people's thoughts for what? Like, are we ever going to find out why he killed them?
Probably not, because that's not the point. You know,
Yeah.
the
But
point
it
is
could also explain,
her issue with him
yeah. I was going to
is
say it
bothering
could also explain though maybe some of Ellie's hostility, maybe a little bit of Maria's hostility of why they, it's like they're cordial to him, but you still detect that undercurrent of them not really liking him, and maybe it has something to do with that. I mean, if you think about what happened with Ellie later on in the episode when she's at the dance, and the guy calls her and Dina dykes, and Joel kind of goes off on him. Maybe it was a similar situation, and that's why Ellie doesn't like him. I mean,
him.
again, it's been 5 years. A lot of things could have happened.
Hmm. He could be, but he could just also be. Um, he's the person that gets things done that no one else would want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you and I was on the panel of the drafting of the BIPOC science fiction characters
Mm-hmm.
for a TV show,
Yeah.
and I picked Simon Phoenix from Demolition Man
Mm-hmm.
because you got to have that one person that's willing to do what it takes to get the job done,
Yeah.
no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And that's Joel.
Mm-hmm.
Love him or hate him, he's gonna do the dirty thing that nobody wants to. So whatever happened
Right.
with Eugene, it needed to be done.
Yeah.
And they're gonna hate him for it. They're gonna dislike him for it. But you see, he ain't locked up. He ain't
Mm-hmm.
been punished for it. So
And
obviously,
she
it was the
even
right,
said, "I understand why you did it.
right. It was the
You
right
have
thing to
to."
do. Right.
So it's like, what?
So I mean, he could have been infected. We don't know.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, what did Eugene do, or did he get infected? Like he could have went out on the run. He could have, came back infected. And apparently, what we learned in this episode is, because Dina was joking around with Ellie, she was like, "Did you get bit? Do I have to shoot you in the face?" And she said it so casually, but it's kind of like that's probably what they end up doing to these people because once you're infected, except for Ellie, you turn.
Your turn. Mm-hmm.
So that could easily have been it, especially since yes, she's angry with him because of how it happened. That's what she said. She said, she said, I understand you had to do it. You had no choice. But what I'm angry about is how you did it.
Yeah.
Like, fuck did he do? They better tell us that at some point during this season. I just want to know.
Mm.
I mean, it may not have an impact on the bigger picture, but then again, it could because we don't know how important the therapist is going to be in this season. But I'm just curious. I mean, I know Joel is going to be the person to do the things that won't get done because that's literally how we were introduced to his
Mm-hmm.
character, especially after everything that happened with Sarah. When we see him 20 years later, he is that guy. Him and Tess, though, they were those people. When Tess was having that confrontation with the other person, she was like, "Oh, do I have to get my guy here?" They're like, "No, no, no, we don't want none of Joe."
They don't want none of that. They don't want
So
that
we,
smoke. Nope.
right,
Nope. Nope. Nope.
right. I mean, he even said it what to Ellie. He was like, "Yeah, me and my brother, we did things. We did bad things because nobody else would do them."
Yeah.
So we already know, which also could be contributing to what Ellie is feeling towards him because she's probably like, okay, he said this is what happened to the Fireflies. Nah, if anything I've learned about him over this however many months they were on the road, yeah, that motherfucker lying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he lying. But okay.
Especially
Um,
because I don't think she knows he killed everybody, right? Because she woke up in the truck. He was like,
he
"Yeah,
woke up,
nah,
yeah,
it
yeah,
didn't work out."
yeah. Because he told her that they were attacked by rebels or renegades or something that
Something. Yeah.
people came in and killed or whatever the case may have been. So yeah,
Mm.
but I don't know. But
But the change, okay. I just want to say Pedro Pascal can sometimes be a really good actor. And the shift in his, because he seemed to be so vulnerable when he was talking to the therapist.
Mm-hmm.
after she told him what happened, how she felt.
Mm-hmm.
And you swear he was on the verge of telling her. And then you see a physical shift. And
Uh-huh.
he's like, no. And
Yeah.
he stood up and he was like, I saved her. And then he walks out.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a masterful piece of acting, sir.
Let me tell
Because
you.
she had beat him down. He had tears in his eyes. He was slouching. She had beat him down. And all of a sudden, he was like, no. And he sits up a little bit straighter and he stares her dead in the eye. I
Yeah.
saved her.
Yeah.
And then he walks out.
Like I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about Pedro Pascal, okay? We know he's masterful. This man has been in the business for years, okay? He comes on Game of Thrones as Prince Oberyn Martell,
Mm-hmm.
and that literally is what shoots him into the stratosphere. His total screen time for Game of Thrones, if I'm not mistaken, 38 minutes
Mm-hmm.
total. You make that much of an impact with a character in 38 minutes in one and only in one season.
Mm-hmm.
You ask anybody who has watched Game of Thrones.
Oh, they remember
Oberyn
Oprah and
Martell was
Martell.
one of the best
Yeah,
characters
he
to
was.
come out of that show, and it was his portrayal that
Mm-hmm.
did it. He sells it with this one because I mean, if you look at TV nowadays, Pedro Pascal himself, he's
Yeah.
doing musical numbers, selling, Apple AirPods and stuff like that. He's spry for a 50-year-old. We're the same age. He just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago. But then you look at him in this show, and he seems older. He seems a little more haggard. He seems a little
Mm-hmm.
more just almost like he's tired. And
Mm-hmm.
then you see him in the scenes where he does have that vulnerability with Gail, the therapist, with Dina talking about Ellie, with Ellie, just trying to find some common ground with her, trying to give her her space, but still wanting to be there for her, wanting to kind of have that relationship with her again, build that kind of father daughter relationship again. He's so vulnerable. And it's just kind of like, Joel, you seem like such a broken man, but depending on what he's been through in the last 5 years, that's probably, you know, just the way he is. I mean, the most lively we saw him in this episode was when he was with Benji.
Yeah. I think Ellie, this relationship is breaking him.
Mm-hmm.
It's breaking him because he doesn't know what to do.
Well, I mean, you
Well, he
might
does
want to
know what to
start by
do.
telling
He
the
did.
truth.
Yeah, he knows what to do. He just don't want to do it. He's just not
Yeah,
going to do it. Yeah,
yeah. Because he probably feels like that will push her further away.
yeah.
Because
Because
she may not,
the
she may not understand. It's like I'm not, well, I won't say she won't understand. She probably will understand. She probably could say, okay, yes, I understand why you did this, why you saved me. But again, for you to have it built up in your mind that you are the person that's going to save humanity, you are the person who could possibly get rid of the cordyceps, you could possibly, it could be you or your blood or whatever the case is, that changes things back to normal.
Mhm.
And to have that taken away from you for whatever reason is going to be devastating enough. But then
Mhm.
if you find out that the reason it was taken away was because of someone who was close to you, someone who made a promise that they would let you go to do what you needed to do, and he didn't keep that promise.
Yeah, that's
That's
tough.
heavy.
It's tough.
And it's like when you think about that, there are no winners in this.
No.
They're both going to hurt no matter what the outcome of the situation is.
Mhm.
you know but my thing is, I also kind of feel like that's one of the reasons why she's being so reckless, because maybe subconsciously, maybe she knew she wasn't supposed to get out of that situation alive, and now she's kind of like, okay, well, there's nothing I can do now. There's no doctors to do what they're supposed to do. I'm just walking around here immune, and it doesn't mean anything. I mean, that's what one of the things when she was telling she was saying it to Tommy. She was like, well, we know I can't get bit. He was like, no, Ellie, we agreed that we wouldn't talk
We
about it.
don't talk. We don't
He's
talk
like,
about immunity.
I got bit and I didn't turn. I'm not infected. I'm immune. And then she yells, and I'm like, you do realize your voice is echoing through the mountains right now, right? So
Yeah,
somebody may actually hear that. Hell, that could be the reason why the folks showed up at the end of the episode, way in the mountains, looking down on the town. I'm
I know.
stretching it, but you know what I'm saying.
I know. I
Like,
know what you're saying.
why are you being so reckless? Do you want to die? Is that it? I don't know. And even if you do want to die, do you want to die for nothing? Because at this point now, if you die for nothing. You're not dying to help anyone. Not dying to save the human race. You're just gonna be dead just to be dead.
Just to be dead. Mm-mm-mm.
And what a waste.
Mm-mm-mm.
Because that's not to say just because Joel killed that doctor, that's not to say that there aren't any other doctors around. That's not to say that there can't be any doctors that come up. Like, I'm sure someone in that town has some kind of medical training. Maybe they can be the ones to kind of, okay, let's see what we can figure out. Let's do some reading. You might have a genius in that group. We don't know. But just kind of throwing your life away and just yes.
Yeah, that's the main thing that bothers me about this situation. I understand she feels invincible, but the people around you are not. And at 20 years old, I know you're young, but you gotta understand that.
Yeah. You can't be acting all stupid and stuff like that. You're 21. Or no, excuse me, she's 19. That's what
19,
Joseph.
yeah.
She's 19. She's like, I'm an adult. Act like it.
They act like it.
Act like it.
Yeah.
Just like this whole thing that takes place when they go on their run. We've already talked about it. Her and Dina, they're sitting there joking. They're not really listening to the instructions or everything. They feel like they've done this before. And they kind of throw in some stuff in there about the person who is leading this particular patrol was, I guess, she and Ellie had a relationship and it didn't end well. And they keep talking about this dance going to New Year's or whatever, but then
Mm-hmm.
they approach this bridge and they see blood in the snow and is running towards the town. So instead of sitting there talking about, okay, this is how we're going to handle this, Ellie just takes off. And then Dina takes off with her. And Kat, the person who is in charge, she's like, guys, we really need to go back to town and get reinforcements. Guys, come on. I'm like, what the fuck kind of patrol leader are you? You're just like, come on, guys. Come on, man. Come
Yeah.
on.
Stop playing. Come on back.
So they get to the middle of the town and they find a scene of carnage. You see a couple of clickers, you see a dead black bear, and you see a few body parts. Now, I was sitting here trying to figure out what the fuck was going on in the scene because if I remember correctly, I didn't get a chance to go back and rewatch season 1, but the clickers don't attack each other, correct?
No.
Okay. So you have the one clicker in the street, you have body parts, and then you have another clicker and then the bear with all of his stomach gone and his intestines just hanging out. So
Mm-hmm.
are we to assume that the bear and the clickers did this to each other? Because I was like, those clickers look like they've been shot.
Yeah, it's like no, that's why they said that's why she said how many clickers does it take to take down a bear? So the bear is not an easy thing to take down.
Right.
So yeah, they literally killed each other.
Okay. And then apparently one got
One of them
away.
got away. Mm-hmm.
And so Ellie and Dina decide they're going to go take care of her. I'm like, if this thing hears you out in the street talking because you are not doing anything to disguise your voice, you're not whispering, you're just talking. If this thing has heard you and it hasn't come out, leave it the fuck alone. Just leave it alone. It's far enough away from Jackson that y'all don't have to be messing with it. Just leave it alone, go home. No, they have to go up there to see what they, that they can take care of it. They realize it's two in there, and Dina seems like she's going to hesitate. And then Ellie says, or do you want to let the men do it? I was like, see, bitch, this is how y'all going to die.
Right.
Because instead of thinking smart and thinking, okay, well, we could get back up or we can get somebody who might be stronger since we know that there's two, you gonna sit here and think, okay, no, we can handle it. And maybe they can. But you're going into a situation where you don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what the layout of the place is. You don't know what's going on, which is how Ellie ended up through a floor
Mm-hmm.
because you just didn't know. Now, what y'all did up at the top was smart. You kind of divided and conquer. Okay, there's this one clicker. We hear her. Okay, you're gonna go this way. I'm gonna go this way. You're gonna create a distraction. And then you're the person supposed to be creating the distraction, and you get distracted yourself because you see a dog on the employee of the month wall inside the store. What are we doing here?
She being reckless.
What are we doing here?
That's what we're doing. We're being reckless because I'm immune. I'm a superhero.
Right. You're immune. Your
Your
friend ain't.
friend ain't.
The
Nope.
friend who is going to try to kill the clicker that you are supposed to be distracting so that she can catch her, unawares. But you too busy looking at the fucking wall, like, oh, these are the people who used to work here. This is cool. Oh, they have a dog on the wall. Why is the dog the employee of the month?
Yeah. But wasn't she already kind of like that when we first meet her?
I mean, yes, kind of, because this is a world that she was not familiar with. So she wasn't familiar with, stores being open and employees of the month. Like she was literally
Right. But
born into this.
I mean this reckless nature of hers. I think she's always kind of been like that. When we first
Yes,
met
but I
her, she
don't think
kind
it
of
was to
was.
this extent.
It wasn't as bad. No.
I think more so when we first met her, because she was younger, she was 15, it was more naivete and more, I would say, ignorance, about how dangerous this was. Because of course she's thinking she's immune, she doesn't have to be as careful. So she's not thinking about the other things, how it could affect other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that we can attribute to her age and just her lack of experience, her lack of being in the world, because she'd been shut away for the whole time. So that I can excuse. But now here you are, like you said, 5 years later, you've already stated that you are an experienced runner, that you've gone on runs before, that you know how to handle the clickers. Okay, that's all well and good. But still, if you're not by yourself, if you're working with someone else, you need to be thinking about that other person's safety and not being so reckless. You could have got your best friend killed. You know what I'm saying? And just like when they finally do, she kills the clicker. And when they get ready to leave, she falls through the floor because the floor is rotted. Okay, so she's down there and she's like, I don't hear anything. I don't hear another clicker. There's no way for her to get back up. So Dina's like, stay put. I'm gonna go see if I can find some stairs or something,
Mm-hmm.
because obviously it's a two-story building. There's got to be a way down. So Ellie, of course, does not, in fact, stay put. She starts walking around. She starts looking around and stuff. She finds an old people magazine with, was that Topanga on the front? Danielle Fisher.
It kind of looked like it. Yeah.
I think that was Danielle Fisher. So she finds an old people magazine. She starts flipping through it. And then you notice something in the background kind of crawling to the side. And that freaked me out so much because I'm not used to them being quiet. Usually
Mm-hmm.
you hear them clicking or you hear them making some kind of grunting noise or something weird. So this thing is quiet. And I was just like, she does not hear it. She starts walking and she starts looking. And then she hears a noise. Like this thing made a noise that sounded like a person.
Mm-hmm.
And Ellie turned around. She was like, the fuck? So, of course, now she's on her guard. She's going through the aisles and she's looking. And as she's going through the aisles, we see in the background behind her, like maybe 2 or 3 feet behind her, this thing is crawling on the ground. And when I say the way that they did these camera shots, I was like, this thing is playing cat and mouse with her because she keeps looking and she's stopping. The thing is not there. And then as she keeps moving, you see it. They put the camera on it and it's walking on its hands and knees. There's glass on the ground and it's actually avoiding the glass so
Mm-hmm.
not to make a sound. And I was like, what the fuck are we dealing with?
Yeah, it
What
was
is it?
stalking. It was stalking her. It was hunting her. It lured her. I mean, it was tricking her. Like you were behind her, and then when she turned to shoot, that motherfucker was
Was
gone.
gone. And here's the thing, you made the noise to draw her in. And like I said, it sounded like a child at first.
Mm-hmm.
And
At first,
then
I was
you
like,
hear
"That's a feral." Yeah, I was like, "That's a feral human." Nope, I didn't realize it wasn't until you saw the
until you
little.
saw
Well, I saw the little thing sticking out of his head.
right. And so and she turns around and she sees it. And she was like, come at me, motherfucker, thinking this thing is, of course, it's going to hear her. It's going to come after her.
It,
That thing stood there.
and went the opposite direction.
She said, come at me, motherfucker.
And it ran.
It ran. She goes after it. She can't find it.
Yeah.
She goes past the point where she fell into the thing.
Mm-hmm.
She goes past it, and there is like a little cabinet or something. This thing has hidden in the cabinet and is coming out very stealthily as she walks past. And she hears nothing. I was like, pause. I was like, no, let me go play a game of solitaire. I need to get my blood pressure down. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Then when she does realize this thing is behind her, because again, it starts making the noise, like letting you know, bitch, I'm here. She turns around to shoot it. It's gone. Then it comes just out of the blue, attacks her. Her gun gets thrown, and this thing starts biting her. I was just like, you know what?
Mm.
I'm done. Because Dina's gonna come downstairs. She's gonna see this. Then Ellie's gonna have to explain to her what's going on. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. Thankfully, Ellie is able to get her knife out of its holster and she's able to kill it. But do you see how many times she had to stab that thing to kill it?
Yeah.
I was like, what are we dealing with? Like, this thing was intelligent. It was playing games with her.
It had a plan.
And then, of course, after all of this happens, Dina comes downstairs and she hides the wound because this thing has bit into her stomach. And I was like, here we go with another Carl. Here we go. That's where my mind went. Like, okay, so now she's gonna
Yeah,
die
but you
in
know,
her
she
stomach.
immune though.
I don't know because she doesn't seem like she's turning. But I mean, Dina comes down, they see the thing, and then next thing you know, they're sitting before the council. And she's telling them, yeah, this thing was smart. They were like, are you saying that it was thinking? She was like, yes, this thing lured me. It trapped me.
It
It
stalked
attacked me.
me,
It
humped
stalked
me,
me.
it lured me. Yep.
Like, I don't know what y'all been doing for the last 5 years. These things are evolving. They are evolving, and that's scary.
Mm-hmm.
It's different when they're just kind of mindless and you know what drives them. You've learned enough about their patterns and their behaviors to say, oh, okay, well, light doesn't affect them, but noise does. So if you throw something over there, they're going to go over there and try to attack. Oh, and they just sitting there waiting to see what you're going to do. Like, also, that means that this thing saw her, which, from what we know about cordyceps from season one, they can't see.
Right. This one clearly they made sure to show us its eyes. It can see.
So now I'm sitting here wondering, I'm like, okay, is it that they're evolving, or is it that maybe this particular clicker is, I don't know how you want to, freshly transformed? Like maybe there's still some of its human nature left. And that's why, I don't know, because we don't really know anything about these things except for what we've been taught in the first season. And of course, like you said, I haven't played the game, so I don't know anything about what these things can do, like what
Yeah.
the limits of their abilities are.
It didn't look partially transformed. It had the thing sticking out of its head. That takes some time.
Yeah, I guess.
That takes some time.
Either way it goes, no.
Absolutely,
No.
absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I again, after she got bit, pause. Let me go play a couple games of solitaire. Am I, no, I'm not ready yet. Let me go
Yeah.
play something else. I couldn't do it. I had to pause it. I think it took me 15 minutes to go back because I was just like, I don't know what to expect now. Like Ellie has been bit in the stomach. I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is when she learns, okay, maybe I'm not quite as immune as I thought. But no, apparently, even hours later, it's not having any effect on her. Like her wound doesn't even look infected. It
No,
hasn't really changed color. And so what she does is she takes a knife and she puts some alcohol on it and she starts cutting around the teeth marks. And then I don't know if she took that piece of skin and just threw it off, but I know she started sewing herself back up. And I was just like, she has been way too calm about this for
I
this to have
think
been the first time she did this.
I don't think this is the first time she's been bit.
At least since the arm thing.
Just the
But
arm, right? Because what she's doing, she's trying to hide that it's a bite.
and that could also be why she's being funny with
No,
Joel.
because it's almost like she can, if they see it, she can say, "Oh, I hurt myself when I fell through the floor."
Yeah.
So that way it won't look like a bite. And it's been 2, 3, 4, 5 days later, and she ain't turned, so they have to believe her because
Yeah.
not everybody knows
Yeah.
that
But
she's
no,
immune.
this is the same day because
No,
this is all
I'm
oh
just
yeah.
saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But
Oh,
I
because they start turning as soon as they get bit. Because remember,
yeah, you
Joel's
could see it. Tess's neck
test,
started. Yeah.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
and that was that had to only be a few minutes later before she started
Oh
having
yeah.
things come
Mm-hmm.
out of her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. Yeah.
pretty fast. Um, and the counseling is stupid because was that what's her name? She's like
Maria.
Maria. Oh yeah. Oh,
She's
Dean
like,
was
I don't
lying.
believe
She
Dina.
wasn't
Dina didn't see nothing.
there.
Because Dina, of course,
But
she's like, yeah, it happened exactly as Ellie
yeah,
said. I saw everything.
yeah.
And
But
Dina was
Ellie,
like, I mean, Maria was like, I don't believe Dina, but I do believe Ellie.
yeah,
But
yeah. I
it's
think they
like,
all did.
right. But it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I understand it's New Year's Eve and y'all having a party and you want to get to the party. You don't think y'all need to sit around for a few more minutes to discuss the fact that a cordyceps was stalking and trapping someone? Like,
While
do you
while
think
we're
this is a one off?
while we're on this, let's talk about the pipes because as far as I know, the fiends just spread and that's it. This was like scouting. It stuck his little tendrils out and then pulled his tendrils back in. That's a
And the
problem.
fact that they didn't see any of that at the beginning when they first broke open the pipe and
See,
they saw
see
those roots.
what I thought when they first broke open the pipe was like, oh crap, that's of course like, no wait, those are roots. And I started thinking, they gonna tell us something about this later. And I was in my mind, I was like, right. Because them things came out, I was like, uh-huh, and then went right back in.
So here's my question again. This is why y'all need to fucking listen to Joe, because what did Joe tell Dina to do? He said, y'all clear those roots out. We will fill that pipe in with ABS.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, cut out the rotten parts of the pipe
Hmm.
Take out the roots. We'll fill it in with ABS. Why are those roots still sitting in there?
Yeah, because he's seen. Well, I don't want to say he's seen this before, but
He has. Remember
I
they,
was gonna say he may not be thinking that way, but he's thinking just in case.
no, remember they
No, no,
walked through that
I remember.
museum.
Yeah, I remember. He remembered, and yeah, we can't just we just can't have that shit just coming. And he just being careful. Like if the roots can make it this far through the
But here's the
pipes,
thing, too. Joel, you got to stop being distracted. I realize you're trying to do a lot of stuff, but when you told Dina you was gonna go out there and check it because she, as she said, the foreman wasn't foreman in, you should have went out there and checked it yourself.
yeah. But you're right, he distracted.
He is.
That's gonna be the downfall of Jackson, right there. Cordyceps in the pipes. It's in the pipes. It's in the pipes.
And I'm okay. So now I'm sitting here thinking about your, I don't know if you want to call it a theory, that Ellie could be infected and could have been infected this whole time. Okay. Here she is, freshly bitten. And a few hours later, the cordyceps shows up in the pipes. I wonder, is it sensing whatever is in her because that bite is fresh? That maybe because remember they told
Remember,
us in
it's
the
a hive
first,
mind. It's like a
yeah,
hive mind.
yeah,
Yeah. And if
and that was
one
the
that
thing that
was
they, and that was the thing that they said in the first season when they were like, yeah, you can have infected miles away, but if the roots in the ground feel them or hear them, they're gonna connect. And I was like,
yeah, because if that one is connected to the smart one that bit her,
it's all
then
over.
yeah,
Jackson is going to fall.
Jackson is done.
Because here's the other thing. They've gotten too comfortable in Jackson. And again, I understand you guys have had this system in place for years now. You're out in the open. You have all of this visual, around you so you can see what's coming. You have the mountains and you can see what's coming from there. It echoes, so it's kind of camouflaging you. Still, I feel like there's a level of caution they should be taking, especially considering these cordyceps are driven by sound.
Hmm.
Because at some point, even if the sound is reverberating through the mountains or whatever, once they're running towards stuff and they realize it's not there, they're going to start looking for something else. Eventually, they're going to find their way to you, which is why you guys are now starting to see more and more strays and even small herds. But that's not
Those are almost like scouts, like recon, their own recon.
right. Again, not good.
Mm. This is not
Y'all,
good.
I understand y'all want to celebrate, y'all want to have fun. It's New Year's Eve. Like, I don't know. I just can't imagine if you're in a world where everything has gone to shit because these things can eat you. I'm not worried about a date on a calendar. I mean, New Year's Eve, okay, for what?
Well, I know there's a saying I can't think of right now, but comfort breeds complacency, which breeds carelessness.
And we see a lot of that going on.
Yeah, there's a
You're
lot of
ha-
that going on.
you're having a dance in the church with music and lights, and y'all have stream. Where the fuck y'all get fireworks that still work after 20 years? Answer me that.
Mm.
Forget
Same
about the
place,
gas. You can
same
make
place you got the
gas. Who
gas.
is making fireworks? That's my question.
You can make gunpowder. If you can make gas, you can make
They
gunpowder.
were they had sparklers. They had sparklers.
It's the same, it's still gunpowder. You use this,
You know what?
you can make it. You can make
Okay.
gunpowder. You can make
Okay.
gas. You can make gunpowder.
Uh, mm, okay. Okay.
And if you make gunpowder, you can make fireworks.
Okay. All right. Whatever.
um. Yeah. So that's interesting. That it operates like a hive mind. So
And like I said, that thing didn't show up in the pipes until after Ellie
Communicating.
was bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe there was something in that piece of flesh she cut out. And I mean,
No.
I don't know. It's just
No. I think it connected with her for a second when it bit her.
okay.
That's the problem.
It is. It is.
Jackson is going down.
It is.
Is going down.
But even without the cordyceps, you got some tensions brewing in Jackson. Because at this dance, at first, okay, first of all, the fact that everybody keeps asking Ellie if she's going to the dance, and she was like, what did she say to Jesse at the beginning? She was like, yeah, because it's some kind of like community thing, right? And he was like, oh, so you're part of the community now? So one, that lets you know that she's kind of a hermit. She's a recluse. She doesn't
Right.
interact with a lot of people, which makes her behavior and her carelessness and her just kind of her mouthing off at everybody, that makes it even more infuriating
Hmm.
because you're already kind of sequestering yourself from everybody. And then when you are around people, you got to be an asshole. Really? Okay. So they do finally make it to this little party thing. Dina is dancing with somebody, and Jesse, who is apparently her ex-boyfriend, comes over to have a conversation with Ellie. And he was like, yeah, she's like really putting it on, isn't she? Because she's dancing with another guy. She's acting like she's having fun, and she's acting like she's really, really drunk as well. And Ellie said something to him about, yeah, you guys will be back together soon. And he was like, no, not this time. And she's looking at him like, what do you mean? He was like, nothing. And he walks off. Dina comes over to her. She was like, hey, come on over here and dance with me. After she takes a sip of Jesse's drink, very disrespectful. But so she pulls her out there to dance, and it's a slow dance. And she starts dancing with Ellie. Okay, this is my best friend. We're just gonna dance. Ellie is looking uncomfortable as she looked uncomfortable earlier in the episode. So we already know Ellie is in her feelings about this girl.
Hmm.
But of course, she's doing the same thing that she did before. She's like, I'm not gonna tell any, I'm not gonna tell her, I'm not gonna tell her. I don't want to ruin this, whatever. So Dina, and I don't know if this is sincere or if this is just her being drunk, she really starts flirting with Ellie at this point. And she was like, hey, all the men in here are looking at you. And Ellie's like, nah, they got to be looking at you. Dina's like, no, I think they're looking at you because they're jealous. And she was like, jealous of what? I'm not competition. And then Dina says, I think they should be very, very jealous. Basically telling Ellie, yeah, you just might be a little competition. And they kiss. And then Ellie's looking at her like, oh, okay. And they kiss again. And then they get interrupted because the dude's like, hey, this is a family party. And they're like, okay, sorry. Or at least Dina says sorry. And the guy's just still looking at her with the stank face. And she was like, wow, sorry. They get ready to leave, and he says, this is a church, yo, dykes. Ellie turned around so fast. I'm surprised her fist didn't hit his face as fast as she turned around. But before she could even get to him, Joel got to him first,
Right.
knocked him on the ground. And then Ellie looks pissed. Maria takes the guy, picks him up, takes him outside. And then she looks at Joel and she was like, what the fuck was that? I don't need your fucking help. And everybody, of course, is around them. They're looking, they're whispering, they're doing all this stuff. Joe looks hurt because he's like, I did the same thing you were about to do, but I did it so you wouldn't have to.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to the reason why she was fighting in the beginning. She wants to do it herself. She
Yeah.
wants to take care of herself. She
Yeah.
doesn't want to need him or need to want him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we still don't quite know why she feels that way,
Mm-hmm.
but it's obvious that that's what's going on.
Yeah. I think I kind of want to put my finger on it and say it probably started once they got to the city and they had the conversation where Joel had told her about trying to kill himself after what happened to Sarah.
Hmm.
And then he tells her he really didn't care about living anymore. And she was like, well, what did she say? Having a mission will change that or something, or time will change that. He was like, no, it wasn't time. And he looked at her like it was you. And that's when she realized, oh, okay, so I'm not just a job to him anymore. I'm like family. And I mean, especially after everything that they went through with her and the cannibals and him almost dying, coming to save her and stuff. I think at that point, she realized they had a real connection.
Mm-hmm.
But she's probably also realizing it's because of that real connection that whatever happened, and where were they? Where were they? Washington, or I can't remember where they were.
Was
But
it Washington? I
I don't
can't remember.
I don't know if they went quite that far. It was somewhere in the Midwest, I
I think
think.
I think it was Colorado.
Yes, I think so.
It
I
was
think so.
Colorado.
But the connection that they have with each other now, as she was starting to look at him as a father figure, he was starting to look at her as a daughter figure.
Mm-hmm.
That connection is what affected whatever happened with the Fireflies. She knows that much. If she
Mm-hmm.
doesn't know anything else, she knows that something didn't go quite right. And it probably had to do with the fact that he was being overprotective of her. So now
Mm-hmm.
I think part of the reason why she's being so careless and so just kind of, off putting and leave me alone, I don't want to have anything to do with you, is I think she's trying to find a way to break that connection, probably because she feels guilty. Like, again, hey, I have the blood that's immune. I'm supposed to save the world. And now I didn't save the world. I didn't fulfill my destiny because of this. She probably feels some responsibility for it and survivor's guilt. Even
Yeah.
though, she doesn't know exactly what happened, she knows that the Fireflies were attacked, which they were. And she knows that he saved her and got her out of there, which he did. She just doesn't know that he was the one that was actually doing the attacking. But either way it goes, survivor's guilt on a huge level,
Yeah.
especially if she's thinking about the number of people it was. Because when she asked, did anybody survive? He was like, no. She said, did Marlene? And he was silent. So yeah, she's probably she's probably trying to find a way to sever that connection, and thinks being an asshole is the way to do it. But it's just kind of like, I don't think he would let her go in that sense, because again, he didn't get to experience any of this with Sarah. Sarah was 14 when she died.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it's one of those things where I feel sorry for him, but I also understand her, because yes, she does want to kind of take care of things in her own way. She doesn't want him to always, come to the
They should
rescue,
come to her
always
rescue.
saving her
Yeah.
and whatever. But he's also, at some point, he's got to stop treating her like a child.
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah.
She's got to be allowed to make her own mistakes.
And let me tell you, she's making a whole bunch of them,
She's making a whole bunch of them.
making a whole bunch of them. But I was just, when he left the party, and when she leaves the party and she starts walking, she sees him sitting on the porch playing the guitar, and they just kind of stare at each other. It's so sad, because he's looking at her almost with hope,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, maybe she'll come and sit with me, and we can have a conversation. And you just see her, she looks at him, and then it's like just the tiniest change of her face, she gets so hard, and she literally walks to the porch, walks past the porch to go to the garage where she lives. And I was just like, all right, here we go, a different kind of drama. Father daughter drama. Okay, I get it. But like you
But
said,
it's
they
like,
got bigger fish to fry.
yeah. But it's like Gil said, she's not your daughter.
You saw how he jumped at her
Mm-hmm.
when she said that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what you say? But
But
she's
she's not.
not. She's not. Yeah.
And and I was gonna say sometimes you gotta cut them loose.
Didn't
You
we
know,
just say this with Wheel of Time too? If you love something, let them go.
you gotta let them go, cut them loose. I'm sorry.
And
I'm looking at the cordyceps in the pipe again. That's gonna be a problem.
it's going to be a problem because at this point now, if you try to go in and clear those roots, that
It's gonna,
cordyceps is probably going to be there.
mhm. It's gonna know.
And we saw from episode 1, it does not take much. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't take a cut. It doesn't take anything. That thing will literally go through your skin, or it'll go through your eyeballs, or it'll go through your nose, or your mouth, or your ears, or any open orifice you have on your body.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to be some shit.
All I know is I'm glad they didn't do the game because the game is spores floating around the air. You spend
Yeah,
most of the game wearing masks, and they're like, "Well, we can't do that in the show."
yeah, yeah. We want to see the pretty faces.
Yeah, I see pretty
What
faces.
was it Abby said when she said when they were trying to describe Joe, they was like, yeah, we know he's a fighter. His name is Joe or Joel. Yeah, he's what she say
50 years old,
50s,
grayish
grayish
hair.
hair. Oh yeah, they also say he's pretty. Oh, I
No,
forgot that.
they're handsome.
He's
He's
handsome.
handsome.
She's like, oh, I forgot that, being sarcastic because she was like, I don't give a fuck that he's handsome. He killed our people. He has to die.
Oh, oh no! You done made me think of Walking Dead. And the first time they went to that savior outpost and killed all those people,
But we saw how that turned
you
out.
saw how that turned out.
But I mean, you
But
see, here it
it's
is 5 years. It's taken them 5 years to figure
to
out where
find them.
Joel is.
Yeah.
But you see them at the end of the episode, they're up in the mountains and they see the town. Of course, again, the town is lit up brightly because they're celebrating New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And she just has this look on her face like, found him. Now, they probably don't realize for sure that he is there,
Oh,
but
but
the fact that they're that close.
they at least know that there's a lead there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is going to be an interesting season. I kind of think I know sort of what their theme is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's really going to be about the consequences of violence.
Mm-hmm.
Like Joel committing all that violence there
Yeah.
begets is going to beget more violence here,
Mm-hmm.
and then I don't know. I feel like this is going to be about the consequences of the violence that they're doing to each other
Yeah. Yeah.
because
So,
it's going to be a never ending cycle.
mm-hmm.
Because the cordyceps is just cordyceps. It's just the wild thing trying to do its thing.
It's just trying to survive.
But we are literally killing each other.
But that's the theme of all these types of shows, Walking Dead included. It's like you think that the monsters are the things to fear, and really it's not. It's the people. The monsters you can figure out how to deal with. Once you figure out what makes them tick and how to get rid of them, that part's easy. People are the ones that are harder to read and harder to, figure out. Those are the ones that you really have to worry about because people can be deceptive.
Mm-hmm.
They can be dishonest, they can
And
be violent.
they can be violent. And that's what made me think of The Walking Dead. They
Mm-hmm.
went in there and killed all the saviors in that outpost. That was from the outside looking in, you are the monster. You literally are the monster.
That's why we have those panels that Michelle, Casey, and I do all the time at ATLCC when we're talking about Maggie and Negan and those kinds of when you make those decisions because if you really think about it, Maggie started all of that off. That wasn't even Rick. Maggie was the one
Mm-mm.
who told Gregory, yeah, we'll go and kill the saviors, and in exchange you will give us the half of your food that you were giving them, and then you're going to give us some on top of that. That
Right.
was a Maggie thing, but we won't even get into that conversation. We'll be here for hours. But yeah, so Abby and her friends, 5 years later, they have now found the town of Jackson, Wyoming. Um, I don't know how deep this season is going to get into all of that because right before season 2 premiered last night, a few days prior, they announced that it would be back for season 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I've heard a couple of people who I know that play the games, they think at some point they're going to split the storyline that's told in the second game. They're going to split it between season 2 and season 3 so they can kind of flesh out the story a little bit more.
If I'm not mistaken, Abby is a playable character.
She is,
You
because at
play
some point
you play her in the
in the
game.
game you play as her.
Yeah.
So I was like,
So we might get flashback of the 5 years of her trying to find them
yeah.
or trying to find Joel.
Mm-hmm. I think so. And probably, might get a little bit of story of how she got to be in the Fireflies in the first place. Because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, there were 6 of them there at the graves, but she was the one who was visibly more affected than anybody else. So I don't know if anybody in that group, like especially Marlene, I don't know if that was a lover for her, if that was a mother figure, if it was, somebody in her family, but she obviously, like everybody else, was sad. She was visibly angry. Like I said, you could almost feel that anger coming through the
Mm-hmm.
screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have to give us some of her background story to kind of tell us who this character is. And I think it's going to be important for them to give us some information that'll help us connect to her character, because that way when it comes to the climax that we think is going to come to, if they stick to the game, now we know this is an adaptation, they could decide to change some things. I think they would make a lot of people angry if they did that, but I mean
Only the people who hadn't played the games.
no, I mean, as far as if they keep a certain character alive,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I no, I think game people probably would be pissed too, because it's kind of like, okay, yeah, we understand this is a likable character, but that person dies in the game, and there's this build up and blah blah blah. It needs to kind of sort of, okay, we're going to reference The Walking Dead again, kind of with the whole Glenn storyline. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people, even though he died in the comics and he died the exact same way in the comics, people were pissed when Glenn got killed. Like a lot of people stopped watching the show, not only because he got killed, but also because of the violence that came with it. And everybody, all the other people were like, did you not read the graphic novel? Like, this is exactly how he dies in the graphic
Yeah.
novel, all the way down to the dangling eye. Like, this is what happens in the story. You always, people always talk about, oh, they don't follow the canon, they're not true to the story. But then when they're true to the story, y'all want to be pissed off about it because this wasn't what you wanted.
Yeah. That's why I said if that certain character dies, the people who play the game would be like, oh, okay, we knew that was gonna happen. It's
Mm-hmm.
all the people who are new to it who's gonna be
Yeah.
all upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And um the other thing is if they do this thing that Kirkland did, right? Kirkman? Is it
Mm-hmm.
Kirkman?
Kirkman. Mm-hmm.
He tried to change a lot of things that he thought maybe he got wrong the first time. So
Mm-hmm.
it's possible that the people writing this, because I think the video game people are involved. They're not writing it, but I'm sure they're consulted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They could be like, well, what if we do this? Do you think that would, So it could be possible that they keep that character alive,
Mm.
and it just be one of those things where this is something we didn't do in the video game. It would be interesting to see if we had made that an option
Mm.
to see how it would go.
Okay. Okay.
And I would be okay with that. But I like games like that. I'm a huge Mass Effect fan. I like when I have choices.
Mm-hmm.
So if that had been an option in the game, I haven't played the game, but if
Like,
that would
choose your
be
own adventure.
yeah, that would be a cool option to have to be like, okay, well, I don't want this person to die.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do to make this not happen?
Right.
Because it happens in Mass Effect. There's a character in Mass Effect 3 that if you have done certain things in Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, he doesn't die in Mass Effect 3. You can actually save his life.
Ah, okay.
But the margins are so slim. You
Mm-hmm.
make one mistake, that person dies no matter what.
Okay.
So It would be cool if they take that approach.
Mhm.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
Um, we'll see.
So, I mean, I think either way it goes, whether that character is killed or whether another character is killed, because it could be that, kind of like again, Walking Dead, they had a death where, characters' heads were put on pikes. And all of the characters who died in the show were not necessarily the ones who died in the comics. Like characters who died in the comics, they spared them in the show and substituted another person or another character in their place. They could very easily do that here.
Mm-hmm.
There's other ways to tell the story and make it someone else who dies that will, I think, could further the story, because then you have another person who is out for revenge, but then you have this endless cycle and where is it going to end and blah, blah, blah. That could be a great story depending on how they tell it. Or it could just be one of those things where it's like, okay, can you kill them both already?
Yeah. Yeah, I
But
think, like I said, I think the point of the show is about the consequences of violence and the cycle of violence that is just never ending.
yeah, yeah. But this episode got off to a great start.
Mm-hmm.
It gave us some story. It gave us a little bit of drama. It
I give
gave
it
us some trauma.
8.5 out of 10.
Okay. Look, you've been very generous with the
So
ratings lately.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's what happens when we watch good quality TV. And we will admit
Good
The Last
quality
of Us
TV.
is one of those shows that is good quality TV.
Yeah.
Even when the story is moving slow, I feel like it's good because they're giving us information that we need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing it in an interesting way. I mean, like I said, Ellie walking through that store, I was like, okay, here we go, walking through the woods, but it's a store. She's looking through a
Yeah.
People magazine. Why are you guys showing us that? Oh, wait, is that something moving behind her? It was like the way that they presented. It was so unexpected because I didn't even see that thing up there until it moved. Like
Right.
literally, how they say, you know, if it would have bit me, I wouldn't have noticed. I'd be dead right
I'd
now.
be dead.
I'd be
I'd be dead.
cordyceps with these things coming out of my nose and stuff. Yeah, but I mean, they played it very well. So, um, do we have any final thoughts about this episode? I think we talked about all
Yeah.
the major stuff.
We talked about all of it.
We talked about all of it.
The whole
Okay, so
thing.
all right. So we are kicking off season 2. It's a great start and we're gonna keep it going. But for now, that is it for our show. You can find us online at www.fandomhybrid.com. We are on social media, on all the social media at Fandom Hybrid. You can chat with us on our Discord channel. You can watch our videos on our YouTube channel, and you can listen to us on all major podcast streaming platforms. Thanks for listening. We hope you join the conversation next time.